Hello to our listeners. Welcome to Zafa Fest Oriental Dance Interview, where we bring you closer to different dance artists. Zafa Fest is an international Middle Eastern dance festival located in Estonia on a small beautiful island called Saaremaa. My name is Jane Gaio, head organizer of this festival, and I will be your host today. Our today's guest has played big role in the development of Finnish Oriental dance culture. She is performing and teaching internationally as a solo artist, but also with her dance group. And you would be surprised to hear what dance style she has mastered along the way. Welcome to Zafa Fest interview, Laura Zaray.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. I have a little guest with me. She's Jasmine.
Aww.
She's joining the first half of the interview.
Welcome to you as well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. So if we speak about your Oriental dance career beginning, we can say you started it quite young. Normally dancers, they do other styles and then they discover Oriental dance, but you were already dancing in an Oriental dance company when you were 15. How did this happen, knowing that you're from Finland, not from Middle East?
Well, it's thanks to my mother. She was all her life she loved to travel, so she traveled a lot in Turkey and mostly in Greece, and she did see a lot of belly dance there, and she really loved it. And she started in Finland when we had one of the very first teachers, Shoshana, teaching in Finland some belly dance classes many years ago. So she started in her group, and she really liked it. And I've been dancing like before I was born, because my mom was dancing even in the hospital before giving birth. She said that she did belly dancing there to feel better, to relax herself. And I remember we have photos of me like being a tiny little girl following my mom to a performance or something. She didn't do it professionally, but she was an enthusiastic hobbyist. And when I was 9, because I was super active, she wanted to find some sports for me, and I started Jiu Jitsu, like Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and it was quite tough. I did it for many years, but I was at the age of between 11 and 13, I was growing really fast, and the doctor said it's not good for my joints to do very hard wrestling and all this, like the stuff that happens in these classes. So my mom decided when I was 13 and Shakira was very popular, that she's gonna send me to a class which was labeled Dance Like Shakira. And I was so angry at her, and I told her I will never go, and this is horrible. I don't know how to dance. I don't want to dance. I hate dancing and I hate you. And oh my God, we had a huge fight. She, of course, stick to her mind. I had to go. I went to the first class, and I was 13, and I fell in love right away. I love the teacher. She's her name is Taikku, and she's teaching a lot of especially young generation dancers here in Finland. So she does a lot of this like disco oriental and dance like Shakira, and it was perfect for me. I loved it, and from the first class I really felt like, wow, like I sort of get these moves, and like I'm not completely hopeless with this. So I loved it since the first class. It felt somehow natural to me. I felt a lot of joy while dancing it. And before that, I had tried once a street dance class, which I hated, and once a ballroom class, and I hated it. So I always refused to go back. So my mom was probably expecting this to happen again, but it didn't happen. I loved it, and I started weekly classes with this teacher. And when I was 15, I went to high school, and I thought that now I'm gonna leave dancing and focus on school. And then I got an invitation for this, like it was not personally for me, it was a public invitation for for dance company, which was led by Tuija Rimme and Jana Ol. And I didn't even know these teachers, but I was like, wow, that sounds so cool. And I'm very competitive. So whenever there is a chance to win or compete a little bit, I want to go. So I was 15 and I went there and they took me in. And after that, you can guess that I was not focused on school that much anymore.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
But when did you understand that this is now your career or your work? When did you dedicate yourself fully to it?
Sadly, I feel it took too many years, because from 15 to 17 or 18, I was in this dance company, which later turned into El Hassani dance company, led by Tuija and Hosseini. And we had a lot of training. Like we could have maybe 15 hours a week sometimes, which was quite a lot for me back then. And I really loved it, and I did teach occasionally, and I did perform since the age of 15, like doing gigs and stuff. But I had this feeling, even though my mom was very supportive, she was always saying like, yeah, do what you feel is the best. But she was also telling me, because she works in a theater, and she said like, I see these artists and it's really tough life and you cannot earn a lot of money and your life is a little bit insecure, and I wish you can just educate yourself and find a real profession. So it took me really long, because I had this mindset that, okay, I have to study. I wanted to become a veterinary doctor. So I was like aiming for that. And when I was 19, I graduated from high school and I was supposed to start studying for this school, and it never happened. I couldn't find the motivation, but somehow I always found the motivation to dance. So after that, that's a long story, but to put it short, I think I was like 21 when I decided that I was practicing at veterinary nursing in a clinic, and I really hated it. I was like thinking like, why am I doing this with my life? And since the payment was super low, I was thinking, well, maybe it's not that much lower if I'm a dancer. Okay. So I was saving like half a year money for this miserable upcoming months of being only a dancer. I decided, okay, I will just be a dancer and let's see what happens. And I was, I think, 21 or 22 when that happened, and yeah, that's when it happened.
And when did you start teaching?
Well, my first classes I started teaching already at the age of 16. One of my current teachers back then was very supportive for young artists, and she was saying like, yeah, I can give you one weekly class, like you're good, and the only way to become good is to practice teaching, and you have to start from somewhere. I was very stressed, and I only had this one weekly class, and I was so stressed actually about giving it, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist and I demand a lot from others and from myself. So it was very stressful. Like the whole week I was stressing about this class, and because of that I thought at that age that, okay, I can never become a teacher because I stress for one class so much. So what if I have 10 or 15 classes per week? And yeah, but it changed. It changed within the years.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
So if we fast forward now to 2010, you started organizing a Hafla that is grown now into Hafla Intensive. How was your last edition and how did you get started with it?
The last edition was supposed to happen in April 2020. That would have been the 10th edition of the festival. And what happened was all this pandemic time with Corona, and eventually everything was cancelled. So I was not able to move on and proceed with this event. And when all these cancellations started happening, it was halfway through March, and the festival was supposed to be by the end of April. So it was quite insecure, like what to do, and I saw many people postponing and canceling their events. But since I myself like to study online, I was thinking, well, what if we try to do the same topic, same teachers, same lectures, but we just make it online? and I think it was one of the first events done online, like bigger scale, and it was really nice. Like everything went quite smoothly. I'm not a super technical person, so it was a struggle to fix all the Zoom meetings, and I did some mistakes, but I learned from them. But eventually we got really nice feedback, and all the teachers that were originally, most of the teachers that were originally part of the event this year were able to join. So it was a positive experience.
Okay. And where did the Hafla event start? Why did you have the idea to start organizing Haflas?
Well, when I was younger, I really wanted to stand out, and I wanted to perform and all these, like show my skills and my enthusiasm for Oriental dance, but I felt I didn't have much chance. I did not feel like more than 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I didn't feel much support from the local dance community. The message I was receiving was more like, oh, you know nothing yet, you're too young, oh, you're too proud, like, why are you even pushing yourself? No, there is no space for another teacher in Finland, which obviously was not the case. But so I felt I need to, if I cannot get into somebody else's event, then maybe I should organize my own. And that was not really a realistic idea until I went to Estonia. and back then Mystica was owned by Kaidi, Sandra and Berit, and they had something called Hafla, and I didn't even know what is a Hafla. And I just loved it. They invited me once there, and I was so amazed by all the young dancers and all the talent that you have there, because here was a lot of like older generation, so I always felt like I'm an outsider a bit, because I didn't have another young dancer with me, even though there were some, like Suvi Tuominen, who's my age and started even earlier. She started when she was 9, but we didn't go to the same school, so I felt a little bit like lonely. But when I went to Estonia, I was like, wow, like amazing dancers and so many different styles, and these girls are just running a dance school, and wow, maybe I can do something too. So when I saw it in reality, I realized maybe I can do something too. And I just took that idea. and that's how I organized my first Hafla.
Yeah, it's surprising to hear that it's so different in Finland compared to Estonia, because I remember when I started 2010, I think, and it was the opposite. I remember that a lot of dancers because I was in Saaremaa, I remember that the dancers from mainland, they were really supportive for young dancers to come perform, and of course not in the big shows, not in the gala shows, but in Haflas, it was very easy to go and perform. They invited you, and I remember going many times to the mainland to perform. So it's surprising to hear that in Finland it was very opposite.
Yeah, I felt so very strongly, but of course, also I understand it, because when I was a teenager, maybe I did have quite an arrogant attitude. So maybe an older generation teacher will also think, okay, we need to tune it down a bit, so that she understands she still needs to grow up and learn. So maybe part of it was that. Anyways, now these ladies, they're still teaching and dancing, and I do feel that we are supporting each other now. So it's a positive thing, and everybody's doing quite well now.
Okay. How did the Zaray dancers group started? What was the goal for this group?
Well, as I was actually living in Estonia for 3 years. And while I was there, I had this feeling that I would like to have my own group or a class, at least one class in Helsinki, to start teaching in my way and maybe build up something. I was not sure, can it be something? Is it ever gonna work? I remember I was talking a lot with Kaidi back then, and she's always been my support, and she was encouraging me to have my own performing team. And I think the main idea was that I really wanted to have a group of very enthusiastic dancers, again from maybe the younger generation, who are willing to grow and explore together, and not only do gigs but really to focus on different styles and present them in a good way. And of course I was thinking it will be nice if I one day have something like this, then I can create my own visions with a group of talented dancers, which is pretty amazing. So yeah.
I'm happy to hear that. I've seen some of the performances and it's really nice to see, like, they are all young dancers and you do so different styles and you still manage to master it. It's not only doing oriental performances, you do, I think, Persian style, and you've done some fusions. It's really nice to see.
Thank you. I'm happy you like it. It's mainly, I think, because it's possible because the girls, all of them, because I have several performing teams and we're always trying to choose who fits with their personality and skills to which group. And this group, I think every single dancer there has been trained in many dance styles. So we have two girls who studied with me since they were like, I think 13 and 15, they're sisters. And they're amazing, and they did a lot of ballroom and tango and Latin styles, and then there's a girl who's a professional samba dancer and another girl who's professional in all kinds of like Latin styles. So I feel they are ready to explore, and they have this thirst of doing different things.
Speaking of Latin style, if somebody would Google your name now after this interview, they would find out that there is not only a Oriental dance artist, Laura Zaray, there's also a kizomba instructor called Laura Zaray. Who pulled you into the Latin world, or how did you discover kizomba for yourself?
Well, it happened when I was actually, I think it been like 6 or 7, wait a second, time is flying. It's been like 7 or 8 years ago. I was having a longer winter holiday and I saw a local Latin dance school offering like a week or two with a very low price that you can just join as a new student all their classes. And I'm like, yeah, it sounds like fun. Why not? Let's go. And I went there and I tried all the dance styles they were offering, and one was kizomba. I didn't like it back then. I was like, ooh, like I have my own personal space. I don't want a stranger coming that close, and it felt quite awkward. But I did like salsa and bachata a lot. So then I went to all these dance parties and I really enjoyed it. And I felt in the beginning that it's very nice and relaxing way for me to dance because nobody knows me and nobody expects me to know what I'm doing. So I felt this freedom, like, oh, I'm dancing without a pressure about how am I doing it. But then then what happens often for me is that I take things too seriously. So I did start liking kizomba a lot, and then that style through the dance parties became my favorite. And then I went to a workshop, and the workshop was given by Nemanja, who was currently living in Estonia. And I think he thought that maybe I have danced more because I was following well, and I had some, like, even though it was my first ever workshop. And we talked, and he said that there is a weekend in Finland that he needs to teach, and he needs an assistant. And if I want to go, and I'm like, yeah, it sounds so cool. And that's when all the stress started, because then it started going from hobby into work. And but I really enjoyed it. I felt it's really nice change. I also felt at that time I was not so sure, like, how is Oriental dance working for me. I felt like maybe I'm not gonna make it, and maybe I can get bored with one style only. So eventually I moved to Estonia, and this is exactly that time period when I left the nursing, the veterinary nursing clinic, and wanted to try out how can I live as a dancer. So then I went to Estonia and I stayed there for 3 years. And I was mostly doing kizomba, but also some belly dance. And it was really nice. It was really nice period to have some change.
Yeah, and with Nemanja, if I remember right, you performed also in bigger festivals.
Yes, he was already quite known
Mm-hmm.
in the festival world, so he was invited a lot to teach, and very often I traveled to teach with him.
Mm-hmm.
And also in many festivals they have, like in belly dance also, you don't only have the teaching, you also have
Mm-hmm.
performances.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And by now you are actually also giving kizomba classes in the festival as a solo artist. You're not anymore the assistant. So if you compare to the teaching in a Latin festival or in an Oriental dance festival, what is the difference? How is the energy of the students?
I feel in a way the energy is similar, because it's like we all are there because we love dancing and we want to learn. But it has a stronger social aspect because it's a partner dance, it's a social dance. So even in the classroom, the normal thing is that you are rotating, so you get to dance with everybody in the room, and you get to know people like this. And in belly dance, it's quite often that you're doing your own thing in your own spot, and if you are a very outgoing person, you will make so many friends, you will get to know people. But maybe someone is a bit shy and finds it hard to open up and just go and talk with people. So maybe for people like that, the social dance festivals offer an easier jump into being social. So I think that's the biggest difference.
I have actually a couple of friends who have started with Latin dances, and they start mainly from salsa, and then they ease into bachata, and then bachata sensual, and then kizomba. So they open up themselves, and if you look them maybe 5 years ago when they started, they were really closed. They didn't want to dance with anybody they didn't know, and now they are dancing kizomba with a stranger. It's really nice to see that actually it helps to boost your confidence and help you to open up for other people, and also not only as a dancer but also in your normal life you are more open, more confident.
Yes, I agree.
uh, and you also actually mix those dance styles together, kizomba and oriental dance. What do you think is the base of a good fusion dance, if I would like to make one right now?
I think it depends on the purpose. In general, I'm not so much into mixing these two styles, but why I did it is because, of course, people ask this from me for workshops or for shows. They're like, oh, we like you belly dancing, but we like the kizomba too. Can you put them together and do something? And in a way, I feel there is something so similar in these two. Like very often, belly dancers I know, they really like kizomba music and they really like the dance movement. And even though it does come from a different technique and different movement qualities, it's still quite, I'd say, easy from a belly dance perspective to jump into the kizomba one. But yeah, but for fusion, I think in general, it's nice that if you know both styles and do at least some investigation on both. It's like, for example, I don't know any ballet like properly. Of course, some basic training, but performance wise, I don't know. So if I would want to do a ballet oriental, it would be maybe not the best idea because I don't actually understand ballet. Or if I would want to do a tango oriental, I really love that mixture and I love to see it on stage. I've seen so many amazing pieces, but I don't know so well tango. So I'm afraid that if I do a mixture of these two, the ones who do know tango, they're going to look at it a bit like, well, that doesn't look correct. So I think that's the first thing, to actually know the two styles you're mixing. And then if you do call it like samba oriental, for example, I am expecting as a viewer, as an audience member, to see maybe 50-50 of each. And not necessarily just that like now you do this part and now you do this part, but you're all the time mixing them together and being creative with the combinations that, okay, in belly dance we have this movement, in kizomba we have this, maybe we can somehow put them together or add the flavor of the other style. So yeah. I think with patience and some investigation, it will work the best.
I agree on the investigation part, because I think this is something that people overlook mostly. They just hear maybe a good song and they're like, okay, I want to do this fusion now. Let's say the tango oriental fusion. You hear a good song that has both of them and they just want to do it. So they skip the part of actually learning about tango, maybe taking a class or two to understand the technique, how it works, how's the partner work, and all of that. So I agree that this is important, because this is how other people later maybe will see it. Like if you perform to somebody who doesn't know anything about tango, you need to also represent the tango culture, let's say it like that. So you shouldn't be doing something wrong. You need to be sure that you are doing it correctly.
Yeah, of course, like to give a good image. And we can always, if we feel we don't understand that, then we can think as belly dancers, how would we feel that some other style dancer just takes like the worst cliche movements of our dance and doesn't maybe know them well, and then fuse them together, then we will feel a little bit like, why do you do that? Even if it has potential. But yeah.
I agree. So right now, as you mentioned, in the current moment, we are in May 2020, and we have a lot of online classes available, and I'm happy to see that many dancers use this possibility to learn from teachers maybe who are in the other continent or somewhere far from them. But tell me, what do you take with you from this online class boom that is happening right now? Or what have you learned as a teacher that you can also later use?
Well, at first, I just started immediately building the idea that, okay, I'll just start teaching online. I'm not sure how it's gonna work, and if people even want to come, and if I'm even able to do these classes. But I started doing it right away, which is like, for now, it's 9 weeks that I've been doing it. And at first it was just like, okay, I'm offering online class. But then I started watching all these advertisement of other teachers, and I'm like, wow, there's amazing things. And wow, this teacher in America, I always wanted to study with her, but I never had the chance to travel. And then I suddenly take her class in my living room. So for me, as a teacher, I feel I learned, because when you are in interaction with someone in the same room, it's more easy, I feel, to teach, because you have the presence and the visual connection and your words and everything more like 100% compared to only a screen where you cannot see the person. So as a teacher, I feel that I learned to be more articulate in my words and my verbal explanations. I had to focus on them, make it more clear, my instructions, make it better, understand a lot about a mirroring, because I'm facing you and then I'm not facing you. And in real class, you just normally you just have the mirror and your back is towards the students. So now I have to memorize my choreographies like 2 directions, and I think it's been amazing, because I'm a person who always forgets what is right and left. So it's been confusing and it's a struggle, but I'm learning a lot. And also I feel like building the class, because normal class, you have so much interaction that you're sort of sidetracked all the time. Like you have this plan here, but then the student asks this, you go here, then you go here, then you get an idea from here, and you go a bit like this. So I feel now my classes are super structured and super organized. And also for the students, it offers the possibility to go back to something they didn't get the first time. They can do the same class many times if you're using a platform like Facebook Live or some pre-recorded classes that you can continue back to this recording. And of course with Zoom, again, or video conference style classes, it's more interactive. And then you have to divide your attention a lot. But also I have to think, because now I've been teaching for for 14 years. So I've seen like thousands of students, and I usually remember that, okay, with a hip drop, the most common mistakes are these 10 things, and the students will always, one in the room will do this. So I have to reflect a lot to that, and then remember to tell them, even though I'm not seeing them, but I will say, just check your knees like this, or your hips are like this, pay attention to this. So I feel I learned a lot from teaching. And then again, as a student, I feel that because as a teacher, you're normally working when somebody's giving a class, and that's your excuse of not joining or the lack of time. But now that you can take the class even middle of the night from someone else, or the first thing you wake up and you have a time slot in your schedule, you can take this class. So I feel like I've grown in the past few months so much as a dancer, because I'm taking all kind of workout challenges and a lot of Persian dance, which is my latest passion for 2 years now. I study pretty much daily now with the teachers from Iran and from America. So I think I got a routine now to keep studying as a teacher, which we of course should all do, because now I don't have an excuse not to do it, because I can do it from my living room.
I agree with you, but I also say that what I found out is that I don't have the motivation or self-discipline to take the classes, especially if sometimes in Zoom the connection is not so good, and then you lose the teacher, and then you try to understand what are they doing, and then somebody asks, and it takes like 10 minutes until they get back to the routine. And I think this was something that pushed me out from the online classes. Maybe you have some kind of advice for me or for others who are maybe struggling to get themselves behind the computer and ready to dance.
Yeah, like first of all, I totally understand. And also the fact that somebody has children. It's not so easy to start dancing at home if you have children demanding your attention. Or maybe you don't have the space, or maybe you don't have the device or the sufficient internet connection. So it's not like everybody is privileged to have this chance. But for those who don't have a big problem joining, I think the first thing about motivation is something one of my teachers told me, that you will never, if you are laying down or you are relaxing, you will never feel a motivation or urge to get up and start working out. But the moment you do get up, you will enjoy it, you will not regret it. And I think she's a more for stretching and like workout fitness instructor. But I feel the same goes with dancing, that very often I feel like, no, I don't have the mood now, I don't want to do it now. But then if you just do it daily, like start with a challenge, for example, that gives you to routine. For example, Marta Jorits from Dance Studio, again from Estonia, but living in Finland, she has these challenges that it's just 20-25 minutes every day, a stretching and a workout. And then you have a group and you're supposed to comment after each video, oh, I did it, or I improved, or how did I feel today? So that pushed me up, because I'm also not very active actually, normally. I don't find the motivation so easily, but because I know, oh, but she's expecting me to do it today, and others are also doing it, and there is a new video tomorrow. If I don't do it today, then I have two. So that gave me the routine to, okay, get up and do it, even if you don't feel like it. But during and after it, you will feel amazing. So that's first thing for the motivation. But then again, for teachers, like if you do want to keep your students and if you do want to keep the class flowing, I also experienced this, that when I was participating in a Zoom class, it started off very fine. And then at least 5 ladies had really long questions. And 40 minutes of the class, I was standing and listening to their questions. And I was paying for that. And I was not happy. So I did not go back to these classes. So it's again something, as a teacher, we have to understand that I do feel the using of time has to be different, because when we are on the screen, to get the students' attention, it requires focus and structure and no pauses because that's what we are used in this time of life. In 15 seconds we see a video that has so much information. Nobody wants to watch a video these days that lasts more than 1 minute. So I mean, the same with the class. I feel you have to be quite tuck in order to keep it going and to keep your student here, even though you're not physically in the same space. So then if you do allow questions, for example, which of course it is important, maybe you can say that, okay, we have one moment of questions in the middle of the class and then try to explain them super fast, or say that you can also write to me after the class so I can help you with your personal issues if the teacher has the time for it. And also in Zoom and many platforms you can just type in the question. So then maybe the teacher can check it when she has the chance and then try to go through it quite fast. But from my experience, sometimes when you do open the mics in the video conference, it will be an endless flood of questions and then it can be boring.
Yeah, I agree on maybe finding a certain time or time frame for the question, like to maybe sync it with a water break, that okay, we have a water break, 1 minute, and I answer your questions and I do it fast, and what else is left you push for the next one or after the class. So let's move to the future. You are a kizomba artist, you are a oriental dance artist, you are giving classes, performing, but what are your long-term goals? Where do you want to see yourself in 10, 20 years, or what do you want to still achieve?
I think for me personally, especially now this past few months that I've been able to focus on my own development, I have a huge passion now to work more on it. And my 1-year goal is to study a lot, not only oriental, but like I said, Persian dance, which is a huge passion now, to really understand and learn it. Maybe do other styles too, to take something good from those styles into my oriental dance techniques, and focus more on my physics and fitness in order to start creating performances that I would be proud of. Because me, as probably many other soloists, have the feeling always we're not quite happy, but I still think that I can achieve some kind of happiness, not the perfection of course, but something that I can work on a piece or few pieces of choreography for myself that I really invest for a year and put in all the things that I really learned, and then perform it on stage and perhaps be happy about it. That's one of my personal goals. And then for my students and my performing teams, I really want to see them grow with me. And I would love to do a production, a bigger production on stage where we have all my performing teams and some other artists to make a collaboration, maybe between different, not only dance styles, but maybe involving theater or improvisation or something together with it. And those are maybe like the personal goals. And I hope in 20 years I'm still teaching. I'm not planning to stop. So if faith allows, I will be still teaching and constantly growing and learning new things myself as well. So that's pretty much it, like to develop myself and my students and reach some kind of satisfaction.
So for the 20th Hafla Intensive, we will see a big production. That's what I get from it.
Yes, that sounds good.
Okay.
For sure.
Do you have any last words, or you want to add something or give advice for Estonian dancers maybe?
No, I learned so much from Estonian dancers. I feel I was the one getting inspiration and advice from there. But I think just in general, like try to keep open mind, be friendly, be professional. And whether it's your hobby or your profession, just go for it, like 100%, and always listen to yourself and try to think why you're doing what you're doing. Is it making you happy? Is it satisfying you? And try to think outside of the box. Like, there's so many examples of that, but I will not start because it will take another hour. But yeah, think outside of the box, not only in your own creations, but also on how you're looking yourself as a dancer or how you're looking at others, because nothing is black and white.
Okay. And thank you for sharing your experience. You made a big life change when you quit your job and you pursued dancing, and I think it's very inspiring for a lot of young dancers who maybe don't feel that they are welcomed in the community. And I'm happy to see for you it worked out. You have gone so far already, and I really hope that within the next years you will even get further. So thank you so much, Laura, for joining. If our listeners want to take part of Laura's classes, go find her in Instagram and Facebook, and hopefully next Hafla Intensive will be in person. So next spring, let's hope for that. So
thank you so much, and thank you for doing everything you're doing for the community. It's very important, and I admire it so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.